My name is Amelia, and I love nothing more than to shop until the balls of my feet are concealed with a burning sensation, which anyone who hasn't experienced couldn't begin to understand. I'm pretty sure I'd have a mild but tolerable case in this season's Valentinos. I asked my friends to label me as two things, and out of all of them, shopaholic came up the most. About 2 years ago, before I left school, I was in a hideous state of denial. Me, a shopaholic? No way, I'm just a normal teenage girl. However, after re-evaluating this, I realised I couldn't be any further from the truth. Every spare second I get, around 4 A-levels and 2 jobs, I spend doing something to do with fashion, normally shopping. Or reading Vogue, whether it's a quick trip to Merry Hill, weekend in Manchester, even being to Paris, or shopping online on the way to college on the bus. I will find time. There is something about going into a store and seeing all the wonderful things they have on offer that makes me forget about all of my troubles. Not that I really have that many. It's the way a new dress hugs your figure. The more you try it on, the more comforting this becomes. It's the way you feel when your card is accepted and a new silk scarf is all yours. Problem is, when it's home and put away, I can't maintain that feeling anymore, and the previously fulfilled desire to shop needs topping up a little more. To me, being a shopaholic is one of the biggest elements in my life. It's who I am and who I've been for a very long time. This means it's a huge part of my identity, and it can honestly has had a positive impact on my life. Revealing ourselves consciously or otherwise through the act of self-disclosure is something everyone considers at some point. As I choose to offer the world information about myself, I'm going to use Carl Rogers' theory to help explain 4 important parts of my personality. Firstly, being a heterosexual individual, being partially deaf in my right ear, which I've managed to keep to myself until now, being a self-confessed shopaholic, and finally having a mild case of OCD. My ideal self isn't too far from who I am now. I mean, I'd be a size 8, have some cheekbones, and maybe look like Angelina Jolie. But other than that, I'm fine. These wants are things I've developed through my socialisation, predominantly secondary socialisation. My role models are Victoria Beckham and Sarah Jessica Parker, and they influence me in my day-to-day life. They receive a hell of a lot of positive feedback for the things they do and how they look, which is a very important part of the society we live in. Both of these ladies conform to the beauty myth, which leads me on to one piece of information I attempt to keep quiet. I am partially deaf, and as much as society accepts this partial disability, there are many preconceptions people hold against these individuals, and often in the media we see them mocked. To avoid these negative representations having any sort of effect on my pretty good self-esteem, I keep it within my private self for only my close friends and family to find out. Other than that, being a heterosexual individual, having OCD, and definitely being a shopaholic, stays within my public self for everyone I know to see. My identity has several connotations within society. It depends who you asked. I took some time to ask a variety of people some questions on the typical shopaholic. It's acceptable if she can afford it, and there's nothing wrong with it if that's what she wants to do. No to every participant automatically stereotype the shopaholic into being she. Majority of the opinions, however, weren't the best I've ever heard. Obsessed, aggressive, and vain were among some. I asked myself why this is, and I've come to the conclusion it's society's representation. Us shopaholics obviously love to shop, so we encourage growth and help businesses survive, which the government obviously approve of, which is always nice. My second representation is also positive. Many top designers, sellers, journalists, fashion buyers, and just general fashion enthusiasts are self-confessed shopaholics, and look how successful they are. Becoming an expert is a high achievement, so if being a shopaholic results in your own fashion shows, awards, or writing for Vogue, surely it's worth it. However, these marvellous representations aren't the ones we're seeing, and often we're bombarded with gloomy ones instead. People believe we shopaholics spend far too much time and money to have any acceptable career goals. I was once asked what I wanted to do and where this shopping could lead me. I replied, I want to do a fashion media at UAL. The man replied, that's not a proper career. Try teaching or nursing, you'll be more suited to that instead. These assumptions have come from the media and the negative connotations they seem to develop a lot. One of my favourite films is The Confessions of a Shopaholic, and it does have some of the negative messages the media portrays. The whole show is about how she's managed to accumulate a credit card bill of £15,000 and how Derek Smith, the debt collector, makes it his one and only goal in life to get her. This is the ultimate representation and the one every single shopaholic loathes. I googled obsessive compulsive buying disorder and found that after a recent survey, 5.8% of Britons have been diagnosed with it, both equally proportionate to men and women. Before I said the people that had taken part in my questionnaire automatically assumed the shopaholic was female. It's through films like Confessions of a Shopaholic we create the misconceptions, and yet again the male is the one who holds the power and control over the woman who spent too much money. In society, we gender stereotype, and even though we're born of a certain sex, we socially learn the male and female concepts. Society suggests male the ones who have the dominant roles, who earn the money and have fancy high corporate jobs. Women, on the other hand, are part of the domestic sphere, and shop and clean, obviously. It is these gender stereotypes that meant that participants in my questionnaire automatically assumed the shopaholic was a she. Funny, because primary socialisation is where I learnt the exhilarating fun of shopping. From my dad, not my mum. She hates it.